around the symmetries and asymmetries of attackers versus defenders. In conventional warfare, we've got the longbow and the crossbow. It moves to trench warfare and the machine gun, and moves into some of the asymmetries of September 11th, weapons of mass destruction. And let's see that transition into cyberspace and the cyber domain. To encourage discussion today, I was going to walk through 4 commonly held cyber truths. 1, enterprises know what to do, they just need to do it better. Second, past breaches inherently make us weaker. With every new intrusion, every new event, we're becoming weaker as an economy, as a network defender. Third, the money is the answer. More money equals better security. Let's have a discussion around budgets and increasing that expenditure. Lastly, and this speaks to the symmetries and the asymmetries of conventional warfare into cyber warfare and the cyberspace, is that attackers have the advantage. As network defenders, one is destined to lose. There will be a deluge of events and intrusions. They only have to be right once, and as a network defender, you have to be right every single time. Now, while these 4 truths are commonly held in the industry and in the environment, to encourage discussion today, I'm going to challenge each of those and think about them as truths where allegiance and blind allegiance and a belief in each of those truths could harm one's enterprise, could harm a nation's defense in the cyber domain. So let's go into the first one. And this is true for many different threats across the enterprise, from the hacktivist to organized crime to a nation-state advanced persistent threat. So let's start with number 1. Enterprises know what to do and they only need to know how to do it better. Where this belief comes from, and there's a lot of truth to it, is a notion of there's an 80% of threats, a majority of threats, and then there is another 20% of threat, or the advanced persistent threat. And for that 80% of common threat, these are known threats and they're known vulnerabilities. And basic patching, understanding what assets are on a network, is the key to defending against those known threats. Often this is referred to as cyber hygiene. A fantastic thought and the right thought. And clearly enterprises and our nation has to do that better. But again, blind allegiance to that fails to defend against the other 20% of threats. So what I propose is thinking about it as transforming from security operations centers, which is watching events, watching alerts, a very tool-driven approach. Eyes on glass, right? You can imagine that employee, 28-year-old drinking Mountain Dew, watching the screen, waiting for that next event and figuring out, have I succeeded or not? What do I do next? Okay, wait for the next event. What we need to do is transition that from security operations into security intelligence. We need to have a quest for intelligence around the threats we're facing and each intrusion and each event. And we need to get to a realm of knowledge management. You need to transition from reporting and monitoring to establishing a wealth of knowledge and information around a network defense. How do you do that? You do that by thinking about things through a cyber kill chain. So there's an old view of that past breaches make us weaker. With each intrusion, there's just more vulnerabilities and you don't know who's on your network and you're just destined to degrade security over time. How I prefer to think about it is that each event is a treasure trove of information that you can be accessed and leveraged and utilized in order to create a stronger defense. So the cyber kill chain is an approach. It was invented and pioneered in 2011 by several people in Lockheed Martin, but has become far larger than any 3 people or any company. If you do a Google search on the cyber kill chain, you get about 500,000 hits. And the term cyber kill chain has been widely adopted by tool vendors and industry and government. Now, while I think the term is well known, I don't believe that adoption and living through that approach has become well known yet and has become well adopted. And so let's just take a half a second on the cyber kill chain. An attacker needs to be right across 7 steps. They need to make it from reconnaissance to weaponization, to get on a machine, often communicate back to a home base. You can imagine a person on a keyboard in another country before they're taking data, breaking things, and establishing a foothold on your network. A defender only has to stop a single point in that chain. And what we want to see is when an event happens, think about each step of that chain And you can refer to it as using every part of the buffalo, an old Plains Indian motto. And when you stop them, you don't high five and move to the next moment, wait for the next event. What you do is figure out how did they succeed up until that point, and let me build defenses left of that chain, left of that event, and then what would have happened if I hadn't succeeded, such that I can build future defenses deeper on to create a resilient system. Let's get to the money point, because when you're talking about those defenses, the knee-jerk, the reflexive action is, what blinking box should I buy in order to become more secure? And I need to communicate better in order to get more money, in order to get another blinking box that will then make me feel safer and allow me to sleep better at night. At the most base level, let's go with one data point from the Ponemon Institute in a survey we conducted, that 90% of organizations bought something that was discontinued prior to being alive and active, or was retired shortly thereafter. I mean, if we ignore everything else, that is clearly waste in the system. But let's move beyond that and think about all of the no and low cost options for security that can be added if you think through the steps of the cyber kill chain. So let's take delivery, right? You receive an email, it is a phishing attempt, it is dangerous. You can think about this as the human firewall, right? We all receive God knows how many emails in a given day, and we need to stop that moment. How do you stop delivery? What we do is we tag all external mail at the email gateway with all caps, external, colon, and then whatever subject that sender initially put in as subject. So whether it's from my spouse, whether it's from a soccer club, a child's school, it says external. I treat that email in a fundamentally different way. I know that there's an inherent risk to that email that doesn't exist, on internal mail, and I need to treat that differently. How much does it cost to add external at the gateway? Second example, when you talk through the cyber kill chain, is the notion of command and control. Okay, an infected machine is communicating back with a keyboard in another country. How do you stop that? You want to break the ability to have an automated beaconing back. So what do? You look at web traffic, and web traffic is categorized. Is it a financial institution? Is it a retail institution? Is it an entertainment institution? A bulk of web traffic is called uncategorized. It's too new to be understood by common vendor categorization. People don't know what it is. It's not well leveraged. If you block uncategorized, if you require a human to take out an RSA token or have two-factor authentication to say, yes, I do in fact want to go to this uncategorized website. And there are a lot of good reasons for uncategorized website. To take my child's preschool. It's uncategorized, not enough people hit it in a day, it's not Wells Fargo. But I have to intentionally take out a token and type into that, rather than have an automated beaconing back to it. That is a low-cost solution, and I think that comes by internalizing this notion of, let me get a defense against each step in this chain, rather than just say, this is a new security tool, I need it. In closing, it's difficult to say who has the advantage. Okay, this symmetry or the asymmetry of attackers versus defenders, we'll know that over time when defenders step up and use the advantages that are implicit and available today. And I don't think we've reached that point as an economy, as a government, as enterprises, as government departments and agencies. So what I encourage is we think through the steps of the cyber kill chain, we think through of migrating to a version of intelligence-driven defense, and then we can move to that dialogue of the basic symmetries in cyberspace. So some basic thoughts to get us going today. Thank you very much for your time.
Questions from the audience? Any questions? Right here?
Sure.
Yeah, just wait 1 second, we'll get you a mic. Yeah. For all those viewers at home.
One quick question. With the Security Intelligence Center that you were talking about, and I don't disagree with what you've said up to this point, but it still does not get you ahead of the attacker. You're still in the reactive mode. Doesn't mean you don't have advantages, but you're still reacting. Is there any way to get ahead?
There is, and a great, wonderful question, thank you. So the reaction occurs if you look at the cyber kill chain from the standpoint of something's been delivered, at that moment in time, I'm reacting, and I completely agree. Let's think about two ways to be proactive. One is there are steps preceding that. There's a step of reconnaissance, right? I'm an attacker, I'm interested in your network, and I'm going to seek to understand that network. And this could be as simple as searching at yourcompanyname.com in Google in order to get some email addresses associated with your domain. That web traffic hits your domain. And so by understanding when Google accesses your domain, you can identify parties that are doing searches like that. And that's one way to be days, weeks, or months ahead of an adversary before they've even attacked, so to speak. The second way is that analytic aspect of knowledge and information management. You may be reactive to an event, but you are proactive for the next event. And so what I mean by that is there's a conversation around the 0 day, right? Everyone's talking about the 0 day and the exploit. The 0 day is a limited aspect of that cyber kill chain. In my mind, there are 7 attempts at a 0 day, and you have to change all 7 aspects. So it's not just the exploit, it's all of the other things around it. And if I stop you once and unpack all of those other attributes, then the next time you come, if I've baked that into my defenses, I'm ahead of you because I know the telltale signs that you've used before, and I can stop you when you've changed aspects of it. So, wonderful question. I greatly appreciate it.
Any other questions? Greg, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we're going to welcome Coordinator Painter and Sarah Sorcher, the Deputy Editor of Passcode, to continue the program. Grab it, I'll take it.